Hello, hello. Here we come again, and we are sending warm regards from Rheinach, Canton Basel-Land, and it's a premiere to me. Today is the first LinkedIn Live which I have in person with another person in the same room, and this is my dear guest and friend Jan Mastny, and we know each other since like 5 years minimum.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, Jan or John in English, or is it Czech? We call it Honza. Could you please introduce yourself briefly to the audience, who you are, and maybe how did we met for the first time, and so on?
Yes, so first of all, thank you very much for inviting me here. It's a real pleasure. And you are right, we know each other for around about 5 years. And the Cometex, which became kind of a passion to me, but we will get to that probably, is something what made us together. And I have been for more than 20 years in the business development, and I make sure that the companies are able to sell the products into markets which they are not really skilled in, and I help them to achieve or maximize the success.
Mm-hmm. What is your background? What did you study, Jan?
Well, I'm pure business guy. I have studied the business academy in Czechia, and basically the management of business or business development in general is something what was kind of a passion for many years, and this is actually my focus for the whole time. And yeah, that basically I do what I like to do.
And that's fantastic. So we are both in the same boat. I do what I love to do as well with my career in consulting and being the representative of Czechia abroad. So thank you for the short intro. I follow you for a long time on LinkedIn. You are one of very visible LinkedIn content creators with a lot of followers. I like your content a lot. I've seen a clear shift in your LinkedIn profile from your big skills in renewables, photovoltaics, and so on towards business negotiations.
Mhm.
And business, yeah, we all negotiate, and that's something what people are forgetting. We negotiate all the time.
Correct.
We negotiate with our partners, we negotiate with our kids, we negotiate all the time in business. So this negotiation skills is something which is very important. But why is it exactly important for you?
Okay, that's a good question, actually. Most of my career, I was engaged with renewable energy, and renewable energy business is highly competitive market. On top of it, I was always dealing with the products which are on the top price level among all the other competition, and that requires a lot of very deep knowledge and skills which you don't need for the products where you simply fight with the price. And the first step for me was to learn more about the let's say the technical background, about the features and let's say technical advantages. And this took me quite a while because, as I said, I'm a business person, not a technical guy. And during the COVID time, it was the right timing for me to think, how can I actually sharpen up the skills? How can I improve? And I very coincidentally bumped to the topic of negotiations. And then I realized that this is actually something what has been missing in my skill portfolio and which could make a change in the approach. And it really did, actually. I started to focus on negotiations like 3 years back. And since then, I have visibly noticed the shift in my approach, how to actually do the business, how to see the business, and how to recognize the people which are surrounding me.
I was very bad. I was great and fantastic negotiator as a child. This was funny. And I all the time came home with really fantastic deals. I exchanged something for something of much higher value because I could sell my product. What happened there was that my parents shouted on me. I had to go back and change it back. So that was probably my parents destroyed the best business developer and negotiator. And then when I came to Switzerland, I had zero idea, but really zero, how you treat people. I knew my analytical chemistry, but I had no idea that you can like ask for a discount. So when somebody came to me and sell me HPLC, we simply paid it without discussing and stuff like that. Today, that's so funny that I was great that I lost it and then I learned it the hard way. And now, as being own entrepreneur, I need to fight for my prices, need to all the negotiations, and it's really so important that we can sell ourselves. It's not only knowing how great the cables are and all the technicalities, and they have much longer durability than the competition. So when the topic is so important, why are there such few really professional negotiators in the companies?
I wish I would know the answer for that. When I first came with the idea to get these kind of trainings and education to my boss, his first reaction was that after 20 years in business, I should know how to negotiate, and why do I need the training? So let's see this as a, let's say, default setup by most of the companies. There is a false belief that the best sales guy is automatically the best negotiator. But the thing is, there is a huge difference between sales and negotiating. That's why you can't be, or you don't necessarily have to be a good negotiator, despite you might be an excellent salesperson, because these are two totally different disciplines. They are ruled by different definitions, and negotiation is something, as you have mentioned, we start as a kids with that, and basically everybody's negotiating without even noticing that. And the thing is that negotiation in some of the companies is taken as a specific segment in the company. We have companies which have like negotiation departments, and they run these negotiations sometimes even on behalf of the procurement teams, or on behalf of the sales, and of course on behalf of the top management when there are some
mergers and acquisition and stuff like that. So what if you would describe the biggest difference between the salesperson and negotiator, what would it be?
Well, the major difference is that a negotiator never offers anything. He's only asking for the things. He does not come with proposals for something or for compromises. This is probably one of the things that the salespeople tend to describe the product or the service. Then comes the price, and then they say, you know, I want to have 300 euros for a piece of this, but it will give you this and this and this advantage. And basically what they do is they raise a request for the price, but then immediately they start to advocate the price. This is what the negotiators would never do. So negotiators come to the room and they are only asking for something. They don't offer anything.
So if I negotiate my own services, so how would I do it as a negotiator? I never tell the price to people, or how is it?
Well, first of all, it is important to define when to negotiate, because I would probably, let me think, how would I describe it? For example, if I'm not sure if you are familiar with Krav Maga, the martial arts. The first rule for Krav Maga is to make sure whether you really need to fight or if you can escape. And that's the same with negotiation. First thing you need to do is to make sure whether there is even a space for negotiation. Is it really needed? Do I have to negotiate? And that's the first moment where many people are making mistakes, because they go into negotiations without even having the purpose. The second thing, what happens is that if you are really in a situation that you need to negotiate, that means that you are, let's say, two or more parties which need each other, but they have a certain conflict or dispute between each other. That's the moment when you start negotiating. And once you get to this situation, you need to make sure that the negotiation goes or melts into a partnership or a new opportunity, because this is also one of the very frequent mistakes. People believe that negotiators are somebody who is very aggressive, who will chase you for money, who will put you under the pressure. But the true story of a negotiator, and maybe that's for all the people who watch us now, if you don't take anything else, this should be your major takeaway. After a negotiated session, everybody needs to be happy, because if you negotiate with the goal that you will win 10-0 or 9-1, then of course it's not a big deal. You can reach a situation like this. But the one who is losing, it will be only a matter of time when he will try to escape from what has been negotiated. So going for a solution with a power or with a dominance is not what the negotiators typically do. We build a relationship. We try to make sure that everybody is happy, that there is a reciprocity between the people, and that the execution of the negotiated topic will be smooth and will be done as it was already negotiated, which is a different story from pushing somebody and putting people into the corner and use the aggression.
Important what you said, you have to go in the negotiation, you need to know your purpose. And it's the same, like reminds me of the storytelling. If you tell a story, you have to have some goal. What would I like to achieve with this story? That's a little bit parallel here. For people who are watching us live, please don't hesitate to ask questions to Jan. You can put it as a comment. I will display it here on LinkedIn, and Jan can answer your questions later. Are there any specific requirements, Jan, to be a great negotiator, or a character, or does everyone can be a negotiator? Can every person learn it? So,
basically, it's a asset or a skill which just about anybody can learn. There are no like physical or mental predispositions. One of the things for negotiators is that you are able to analyze yourself. If you have a certain triggers which might bring you to escalation mode or to some very strange situations, first of all, you need to be able to control your own emotions, and you need to be aware of the weak points which you have, which might be somehow disturbing during the negotiation. So it's kind of a psychology issue. Then the second focus is on the people who are on the other side. So after you are able to analyze yourself with your psychological profile, you need to do the same with the other people, and you negotiate different with a extrovert and introvert. You negotiate different with different, let's say, psychological profiles. And the more information you know about yourself, but also about the others, the higher chance for the success is. And these are things which you can learn and which you can practice. Practicing is, by the way, very important. Nobody is able to learn things just by watching the YouTube videos. Yeah. You have to really take care of practicing and make sure that you are actually building up the skills, because each negotiation is to a certain extent like pure original. There are no two sessions which would be identical. So it's probably like with the doctors. The more cases, the more surgeries you do, the better you can perform in the future. And this is, from my perspective, it's a skill which is a matter of intense training.
I read the book by Chris Voss, so Never Split the Difference, which are, 13 and 14 chapters, if I remember it right. And there is a one negotiation tactic described in every chapter. Some of those I really incorporated in my daily life, and some of those I still struggle. Specifically, price negotiation, like pushing down somebody's prices, is something I do, but I don't like doing it. And still, I tried it several times, and I'm not a very, very successful in it. How can you overcome it? Can you like absolutely split your emotion and your ratio if you go into this negotiation? So, for example, you would like to purchase a price, and you would like to get the 10% discount. So, how do you go about it?
Okay. So this perhaps will give you a better idea, because I will show you how you can discuss without even touching the price. Because one of the things which negotiators need to be able to do is to see the bigger perspective. Let's make an example on two of us. You invited me here for this session today, and maybe just an imagination. Maybe you were thinking, okay, he's coming to my show and I'm very famous and I will charge him 500 francs for being here.
This is happening, but not with me. That's
that
the
was
assumption.
your assumption. I was driving here and I thought, okay, so, you know, I have so many followers and I will bring you followers to Václav, and I will charge him 500 francs for being here. So you can see our interests are basically totally opposite. If we would sit here and open up these questions, you come up with your 500, I come with my 500. We might end up with something like you are a consultant, I do negotiations, then we somehow share the clients, do a negotiation courses, and then we split the profit. So basically the role of the negotiator is to expand the topic which is on the table, sometimes even put it to a completely different chapter or different, let's say, objective, and discuss basically finding a common ground. For a negotiator, it's very important to have a friendly, peaceful relationship with a person. Creating a trust is important. And once you get to this mode, then it's much easier that we can discuss and we can find lots of possibilities. And after 10, 15 minutes, we will realize that your topic of 500 and my topic of 500 is no longer, it's no longer on the table, and we are discussing something totally different. That's what the negotiation really is about.
I know that a lot of people are monetizing this stuff. I never doing it because for me it's very easy. It's a give and take. So you show an interesting guest and you are getting visibility through this. So this is my one of the reason why I'm doing this. So I'm all the time inviting interesting people, and then we discuss. If it would be like that, I would definitely clarify it up front. So because you cannot negotiate on the spot, that's stupid. You know, this needs to be clear from the beginning. And if I would like to negotiate a better price on a car, so how would I go about it?
You are giving me hard examples. Basically, what I would say is, and maybe let's use this example with the car. It is very important to get very well prepared. This is one of the crucial characteristics of a negotiator. Negotiators get very well prepared for anything they discuss. If I would like to go to buy a new car, I need to have realistic expectations. That means I can't come to the car dealer and expect that he will give me a 30% discount. I need to be ready for the situation that the representative will not be able to give me any sort of discounts, not because he doesn't want to, but because he's simply not able or not allowed to. And I need to be able to analyze these situations and perhaps melt the situation or the request for the price into something else. I might require winter tires in addition, or I will ask him for a better leasing rate or whatsoever. As a prepared negotiator, if you go to buy your car, you need to be ready with a list of things. It's called the catalog of requirements. And basically not stick only to the price, because you might find out that you might achieve even more attractive things without this.
We have a first question from the audience. Vittoria, thank you very much. Could you please give your thoughts on the importance of preparation for a negotiation? As from my experience, this is the key aspect to be successful. What are the points to focus on during the preparation?
Okay, this is a brilliant question. Thank you very much for this. And as I have just mentioned, it is very typical for me, if I go for a 1 hour meeting, that I spend 5, 6, or even more hours for the preparation. And I'm preparing really everything. That means the negotiators, they don't leave anything what could be a question mark from selecting the place where you go, checking the people who will be attending the meeting, preparing the agenda. This is one of the things which is very important, but also to have the requirements ready, have the sentences which you want to ask ready, because once you get to the meeting and you are in a stressful mode, in many cases you forget everything. So everything should be written, and you have a clear vision of what you want to achieve. It's very important not only to define the maximum target, but also the minimum target. That's what many people underestimate. And they go to the meeting and say, okay, let's see how it goes. This is what a negotiator would never do, because he knows exactly how it will go.
Yeah, this is the same when I'm coming into negotiations with a potential client. I have to know what I would like to sell and was it behind it. And I need to be ready. Sorry, no negotiations, no prices. I need to be ready to walk away. That's
Correct.
One of this. Good. Thanks for the great question. I will. So don't hesitate to ask other ones. So if you negotiate with people who are professional negotiator, who are not professional negotiators, it's a piece of cake for you then? Should be like easy if you are trained negotiator and there is someone who is like quote unquote amateur. So
okay. When I started with the negotiations, I had exactly the same thoughts as what you mentioned, but the reality is actually quite opposite, because the negotiators, what they typically do is negotiator tries to find the main purpose or the main pain point of the counterparty, and the negotiator knows how to ask for it, and he will clarify. The people who are not skilled, they typically don't do it. If I would meet with a person who is not skilled and he will be asking me something, in many cases he will do lots of questions and lots of talks, and sometimes he does not even feel the courage to ask what he really wants. And this is what does not happen between two negotiators, because the two negotiators, they always raise their main interest very clearly. And there is a special term called put the fish on the table. And this says that basically the most stinky part of your agenda needs to be addressed as the first one. So two negotiators, they can, within few minutes, they can define what are the crucial points for each of those parties, and then they can come to the conclusion much faster and much more efficiently than if one of them is negotiated, the other one is not.
Yeah, thank you John for the lovely remark. Yeah, that's anthropological stance at the start. And yes, in many ancient civilization, negotiation is at the core of the trade. So probably if we go back to some ancient Greek or Roman scripts, we will find already some stuff about negotiations there. Thank you for that. And we have another question here. Knowing our maximum is key to being able to walk away and holding the knowledge that walking away is a valid option. Yeah. This is the same story what I tell people when I prepare people for negotiations for the salaries at the end of the job interviews, and we have it all the time, and it's all the time the same story. Some people tell me, Václav, there's been like the 5 most difficult minutes in my whole life. I try to detach from the outcome. I sweated my shirt through, but at the end I walk away with 10,000 more.
Okay.
And then this is it. Yeah. Being ready to walk away, this is important.
I would probably put here a remark, because first of all, to me, it's quite surprising that more than 50% of the people don't even try to negotiate their salaries.
That was me in the beginning. I did negotiate.
Me as well, of course. I think many of us. I'm not saying that you are always able to negotiate something, but at least giving it a try would be suggested. By the way, me as a salesperson, I can't imagine I would hire somebody for a sales position who would not even negotiate his salary. That would be a really
exactly. That's what I'm telling my candidates. Have a look what kind of impression you are making on the company when you are not able to negotiate for yourself. So you are probably, if it's not the inward position but something going outside, that's
Correct.
Exactly what I'm telling.
Correct.
We have another comment. Yeah, knowing one's BATNA is really helpful. Best alternative to negotiated agreement, and that may include a walk away. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. BATNA, there is actually quite a lot of controversy going around BATNA. First of all, it is very important to include BATNA into the strategy which is being done by the commander and the decision makers when they are in the preparation phase. However, the negotiator, the person who really executes the negotiation, in my opinion, should not focus on BATNA, because that means he's automatically giving up his major target and he's focusing on let's say the lowest alternative, and that should not be the case. The focus on the highest level of the target is what the real negotiator should do as a priority.
And there are for sure huge cultural differences in the countries. You've been a lot in Asia.
Yeah.
As I follow on your LinkedIn, if you would compare how do people in Asia negotiate and us under the Anglo-Saxon style, what are the main differences there?
Well, first of all, the differences are even within European continent. If we would compare, for example, the Dutch or the Polish versus Austrians or Czechs or Slovaks, there is a big difference already. It's somehow given historically because the countries and the regions where the people have been alive with trading, Turkish, for example, as well, then these people are way more, let's say,
savvy.
Correct.
Armenian,
they
Israeli.
Part of the DNA, yeah. Correct. In case of far remote cultures, like, for example, the Japanese or Thai people, I don't know, these cultures are different from the mindset point of view. That means, let's talk about Japanese. Japanese typically don't express their emotions. They don't like to say no. It is very important for the negotiator to be aware of these cultural differences, because he needs to translate what he hears into a totally different thing. So reading in between the lines is one of the biggest assets when negotiating in Japan. And at the same time, you have to be very patient, because these people don't take decisions right away. So what they typically do is, we call it the avoidance strategy. Yeah. So you need to be ready that the negotiations are coming in several rounds, and the patience is enormously important. And there are more countries which have a very specific mindset. Chinese, for example, they don't have the same understanding of what is right and what is wrong. We see it quite clearly here. The Chinese mindset is slightly different, and they think in a different perspective. So it is very important for the negotiator to be aware under which, let's say, regional circumstances the negotiation will be done, and he needs to get adjusted to that.
And you've been through extensive training on this topic. So how can I imagine, how does this training go? So you have a scenario, and then you have a counterpart, and you have a trainer there who tells you now negotiate, or how does it have some theory lesson and now try it? How does it happen?
Well, it's a very, very intense real case training. So there is a lot of theoretical stuff being learned during the sessions, and then comes to the real cases. I mean, the cases what we simulate are coming from the real life. These really happen sometimes. And we are going through the negotiations with a certain task. Of course, the counterpart is coming with a different, and then we are comparing the results. Basically, what you do is you compare, or you take what you have learned from the theoretical point of view, you implement it into the real case situation, and you try, because there are like 50, 60 different tactical points or tactics for negotiations. and you need to find those which are relevant to you, because some of the tactics are not suitable for each person, depends on the personality. So instead of coming to a negotiation and trying, let's say, 20 different tactics with a low level performance, it's much better to focus on 2-3 and but sharpen those to the precision, and that's what the training is for, so you know where you can act the best. And what I would also say and recommend to everybody, if you tend to go for a training or for a negotiation courses, make sure that you pick up the trainers and people who are really skilled, who have good achievements in their background, because there are, of course, many people who teach negotiation, but they know it only from the books and YouTube. And make sure you avoid these. So be very selective and have a high requirements for the training courses.
Because the courses are very expensive. What I've seen, they cost a lot of money. Can you drop some names of people who are inspiring you, people you are following in terms of negotiations?
Well, me personally, I'm studying with the Fascinating Academy with Radim Parikh and his team, which I find excellent and perfectly fits to my requirements. If we would talk about the courses outside of Czechia, then obviously here in Switzerland we have the Schraner Institute, which is very well known. The University St. Gallen is doing the global negotiation education as well. Harvard is very famous for the negotiation courses and trainings. So there are more institutions basically in every country. It's really important to check different lectures, different schools and different setups, because each of those has a certain differentiations, and it's important to pick something what is really suitable to you. I have seen, for example, in United States, there is a school for negotiators who strictly negotiate for the doctors, how to negotiate their salaries. It's really unbelievable. There is a person who is doing nothing else than salary negotiation for the doctors. And that's incredible. You know, if you would see it, I can perhaps send the link later on, but these people who are highly specialized in a specific segment, it's pretty much the same like the lawyers, for example. You know, the lawyer will also not do everything from the legal perspective, so they focus. And the same is with the negotiators, and you should look for what is the most suitable to you.
And any individuals which you would like to recommend to our audience, if they could look up someone, who would it be? Beside of Chris Voss, which is very famous?
Well, Chris Voss is obviously the legend. Definitely, as I have mentioned, Schraner Institute, I believe Matthias Schraner himself is no longer doing the negotiation trainings by himself, but he has certainly a great team. In Czechia, Fascinating Academy is brilliant, and I would certainly recommend. I don't have much, I don't know where the audience is actually coming from, but in Asia, I can't really recommend anybody. But in general, look also for the university, St. Gallen University, as well as Harvard. These are the schools where you can get a very, very decent quality negotiation training.
And you are in business development for decades already now. So what are the newest trends? How did you see the developing of the entire business? What are the newest trends today? What do people prepare now a lot with AI? Anything? What is new on the market? What would you tell us?
I think the biggest shift, at least in the industrial segment, what I see is that we are shifting from the concept that we sell our, let's say, advantages or features. Nowadays, the successful salespeople, they sell a solution or a pain point killer for the customer. So it's more about instead of learning and promoting your product, it's more about learning what is actually keeping the customer awake, what makes him worry, and find him a solution to that. And I would also say that due to the fact that basically anything what is surrounding us is having shorter and shorter life cycle. I remember my parents had their wash machine for 20 years.
Yeah,
right? Today,
we had the same. Yeah.
Correct. And today, the life cycle of the products is much shorter. And very typical example would be automotive industry, where basically the R&D activities in the car companies are shifting to the suppliers. So if you want to be a supplier to an automotive industry today, you have to have not only good products, but you also have to be able to allocate the R&D activities on behalf of the manufacturer. And that's pretty much the same in most of the industries.
As pharma is the same story, because
correct.
The biggest deals are being purchased from the outside. You see it in It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is really essential to understand that the today's world is driven by the prices. Of course, the globalization showed us our limits during the COVID time, which means many companies started to rethink their strategies for the business, or let's say securing the materials. And nowadays, seeing the geopolitical shakeouts as well, this is something what it will definitely push back certain globalization aspects and come back to the roots. And we see that, for example, in solar industry nowadays, that there is a big tension or let's say resistance of keeping the dependence on one region or even one country. And there needs to be re-established situation that the European market, for example, is able to sustain from its own resources. It's not always possible, but I see this as a task, or I would say a goal which many of the companies will sooner or later have.
When we talk about geopolitics, I was just curious, and it's a very, very difficult question, but if we look today, the preparation of the Ukraine deal, and if you watch this, everything what's going on social media, it's all preparation for the negotiation at the end. Yeah, whatever, Zelensky is now a dictator and stuff like that, what Trump is dying, crazy stuff. How can we imagine such a negotiation going on, like Putin, Trump sitting on a table and say, you give us Donbass back? No. How does it go?
Okay, so first of all, it's important to understand that Putin and Trump, in reality, they will not be negotiating. There are real professional negotiator teams in the backstage negotiating before these two guys even meet. And what appears today as a certain dominance of one side or the other one might be only a tactical move, and the reality might look totally different on the other side. Perhaps the situation with Russia and Ukraine is kind of messed up because everybody is having a really different point of view. But to describe it on the situation between Palestinians and Israelis is much clearer, because think about this: the Israelis, if I'm not wrong, they will get, I think, around 50 or 80 refugees or kidnapped people.
Yeah.
Versus there will be almost 2,000 hostages or people who are arrested in Israel.
Yeah.
And it may appear as a highly unbalanced proportion. You get like less than 100 versus 2,000. And people might think, well, then looks like the Israelis probably did not do a good job. But it is important to keep in mind that there is a purpose for this, and the Israelis for sure know very well, the same as the other side. They also know why they do it like this. And So there is a certain background on that. And it is very important to mention again what I have mentioned in the very beginning. If one of those parties would feel that they were put under pressure, sooner or later, they will try to recall the agreement and they will go in a different direction. So that's why I'm saying this is very important, that you don't make pressure and you don't make compromises, because sooner or later you will find a way how to escape from that, consciously.
We have a nice last question from Cristina Barbero. Thank you, Cristina. What to do when negotiations take a turn for the worse, with the other party wanting everything and be the only winner?
So this is a simple question. Actually, I would say, Cristina, if the other party is wanting everything and want to be the only winner, then it's very obvious they are not negotiators.
Bullies.
They are anything but not negotiators. They simply don't know. You need to, in such a situation, you need to be very clear. What is your boundary line? What is the minimum target? And you can't be afraid. Once you see that you are below your minimum target, simply walk away. And you can walk away forever, or you can simply interrupt the negotiations and say, at this moment, with this situation, what we are facing right now, we can't achieve anything, and I suggest to stop the discussion. And here is my number. If anything changes, please get back in touch with me. And that's the best way how to escape from these situations.
It's unbelievable how the time is running. We are coming already. I have a feeling, and that's a good sign, that we could talk for another an hour. That's great. But we have already 41 minutes. So next, from Vittoria, how agility can be beneficial or not for the success of negotiations?
Depends. I'm not sure if I understand correctly the word agility. Of course, the negotiators need to be ready with the different scenarios, and they need to be able to switch between those. However, if agility means being creative, this one I would strongly discourage you from, because as I said, negotiators typically are very well prepared, and when they come to the situation that they need to decide something from the scratch, most likely they would rather postpone the discussion, think it over, and come back, rather than make a quick decision which might not be the best one.
And we have thank you, Janse. Usually we talk about win-win negotiation. What do you think about it?
That's a funny one. Win-win. In reality, I think it does not exist, actually, because how to define the win-win. It might be the winning, or the definition of winning might be different for you and for me. And I might feel I won, and you might feel you did not. So it's very, very thin layer. If you are coming to the situation that you are talking about compromise, then it's a really, really bad one, because compromise, in my eyes, from the business perspective, means that these two people were simply lazy to find different solution. It's simply a laziness of lack of interest or whatsoever. Then you say, hey, let's split in halves.
It's like Swiss politics. Something like that. Sometimes this endlessly compromising, but that's the way our society is built upon. Huh? Nice, thank you very much. So we are coming to the end. Any closing remarks from your side, Jan?
As you have said in the very beginning, we all are born as negotiators, as small kids. Unfortunately, as many other good habits which we have as people or young people are being killed during the grow-up phase and the school education and so on. Therefore, negotiation, in my opinion, is a game changer of understanding the people, thinking from a different perspective, because when we talk and discuss, then as a negotiator, it is much easier for me to picture your motivations. And from that perspective, it is very helpful. To learn about negotiation means you learn about yourself, you learn about other people, you learn how to respect them, You learn how to store your ego somewhere else. And I think that's, no matter if you are negotiating for business or not, it is really a helpful tool for everybody.
That's a nice closing statement. Thank you very much for that, Jan. It was a pleasure having you as a guest, and I look forward to our next interactions, either on Comet X for the people from Slovakia, Czechia. Join us on the 12th of September.
Absolutely.
On the ETH in Zurich. Maybe we can touch on negotiations there as well. Guys, thank you very much for your active participation, being our guest, and see you soon again.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.